Hello and welcome to the Daily Atheist Morning Show. It is Friday, the 11th of December, 2020. I'm your host, the amazing Super Chris. Thank you for joining me on this ungodly hour. My co-hosts, Andy Hall from the Laughing in Disbelief blog and Nokasuchi from the Rage channel, they'll be joining me in just a second. Their links are down below. Don't forget to go subscribe to them and watch their wonderful stuff. We're going to talk about the politics things with the Republican guys. We're also going to talk about the Jericho March that's happening tomorrow, the Christians that are marching to change the outcome of the election tomorrow. We're going to talk about this stuff right after Wild Bill. I like Wild Bill on Fridays because it's fun. Hello, and welcome to Shakespeare with a Redneck. What the? I am Wild Bill Wigglestick, and I'll be your handsome host, your gilded guide, your cowboy concierge of Shakespeare. Dude, really? Today on Shakespeare with a Redneck, I'm going to perform the prologue from Romeo and Juliet. Damn it, Bill. Two households, both alike in dignity, in fair Verona, where we lay our scene. From ancient grudge break to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. From forth the fatal loins of these two foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life, whose misadventured piteous overthrows doth with their death bury their parents' strife. The fearful passage of their death-marked love and the continuance of their parents' rage, which but their children's end not could remove, is now the 2 hours traffic of our stage, the which if you with patient ears attend, what here shall miss, our toil shall strive to mend. Hey, that wasn't half bad. I'm not as dumb as I look. Of course not. You'd be in a coma. Okay, so here's a quick rundown of the situation. Bill, two snot-nosed brats ignore the warnings of their learned parents and end up getting 4 people killed. Bill, come on, man, you're always blah, blah, atheist stuff, blah, blah, boring. Say something fun, for goodness sake. What? Particle is a fun word. Bill, particle. Bill, or talk about horses and dogs. People love horses and dogs. Or boobies. Everybody loves boobies. Bill, oh, can I say boobies on YouTube? If you close your eyes, it doesn't count. Talk about boobies then. Okay, everybody loves those cute little blue-footed bastards. It hurts right here. Culture, baby, coming at you. Avoid bringing a plague on both your houses. A plague on both your houses! By hitting that subscribe button, then that little notification bell. And bang that thumbs up button like frisky cousins at a family reunion. Thank you and take care. Peace. 5, 4, 3, 2. All right. Good morning, everybody. Hey, it's Friday. We made it to Friday. I forgot to go off on the Friday thing. It is Friday. Thank you all for joining us. Good morning, Andy. You survived the week.
I was up at 2 o'clock in the morning with one of the many night terrors I've had in the past. And I believe that I might be allergic to Chinese food. I'm not sure. The last couple of times I've had Chinese food, they have given me a disturbed sleep pattern. So I was up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I was able to calm myself down, do some reading, do some reflecting, and then slept on the couch for the rest of the night until my kid woke me up at 8 o'clock this morning when she came down for breakfast. So Kalu Kalay, nothing but a happy day here.
Gotcha. Sounds it. Hey, how about you, Rach? How you doing this morning? You survived the week.
Oh, yeah, I'm here. It's been a pretty good week for the channel. Lots of good conversations. Waking up. I'm slowly coming alive.
Getting there, huh? Yeah, me too. I hear you. I'm still running the show and doing the thing at the place. Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for joining us. Thanks to everybody in the damnation. You are all wonderful people. We're not transmitting to all the Facebook pages like we normally do, just to my Facebook page and the YouTube channels and Twitch and Twitter and stuff like that. So good morning to everybody. Thank you all for joining us. I hope you're having a wonderful day so far. I hope you had a great week. I hope you're ready for the weekend. I am ready for the weekend. You know what I want to do this weekend? Not this. A whole bunch of not this. Like I want to do like not this and then twice not this. I'm going to actually do not this in a Z formation. Not this in a circle with 2 snaps. That's what I'm going to be doing this weekend. What about you, Andy? What are your plans?
I will probably be doing something like this. I'm going to be on
I had an idea. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm going to be on the Free Thought Prophet show. We're going to be talking race and politics. And
always fun.
it's going to be interesting to talk about race and politics with 3 other white dudes, but at least one of them's Irish from the Republic. So that's John Hamill. So he's our token non-white, maybe. See, that's a joke. That's a bad joke, Andy. He should be making jokes like that. But
you're going to hell.
19th century, early 19th century humor there, ladies and gentlemen. That's what that is. So yeah. So we're going to be talking about people voting based on race and what kind of utilities, if any, there are to it. And so I'll try to bring some levity and some reason and maybe some compassion to the conversation.
Sounds fun. Actually, while I was thinking about it this morning before the show started, I was not planning on, don't normally weekends. I've got to where I've taken my weekends back. But there's this march going on that we'll talk about in a minute. So I was actually considering possibly doing a stream covering the march. Maybe. I don't know. I was just thinking about it. Anyway, Nokasuchi, what do you got planned on going this weekend?
Oh, it's pretty much normal as possible. I never stop. I am planning on taking a day off from streaming tomorrow just to put out a video or two, edited content. But I've got a debate on Sunday. So if you guys are in the audience and you're interested in the debate, what are we going to be debating? Oh, yeah, the prophecy of Tyre. Was it fulfilled? Oh, yeah. Should be a good debate. So come and join us Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Do
a snapshot. Something about Ezekiel, the prophecy of Tyre. Give us a little bit more of a taste there.
So Ezekiel witnessed Nebuchadnezzar and the largest army in the world at the time, the host of Babylon and all the nations that were underneath the yoke of Babylon. Ezekiel watched him take over Jerusalem really easily. So seeing that, Ezekiel prophesied, and seeing that Nebuchadnezzar was now heading towards Tyre, Ezekiel prophesied that Nebuchadnezzar would, of course, take Tyre very easily. And that didn't happen. So a number of subsequent prophecies would then come out. Well, he's going to take it now, or he's going to take it now. And it never happened. For 13 years, it didn't happen. And he eventually never actually got into the city. So the prophecy, it wasn't just one prophecy that wasn't fulfilled. It was several prophecies that didn't get fulfilled within the Bible. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting. C.J. Cox takes the position that the prophecy was fulfilled. I'm very interested to hear how he takes that position myself. So,
I'm curious about the city itself. Was the city an island city at one point, and now it's part of the mainland?
Well, the main city was an island city, and then they had another city on the mainland that would ship them their freshwater supplies and all of that. Sure. So if you were going to lay a siege to the island city of Tyre, you cut off that mainland city. And so they didn't take boats and siege the island. They would just cut off the main city, and then you cut off supplies to Tyre. So that's consistently, historically, how they did it. Nebuchadnezzar just was bad at it and didn't do it right.
Well, I remember reading about Alexander the Great's siege of Tyre, and it was a hard lift for him.
Yeah.
And so, Tyre, it's a fortress city, right? Mm-hmm. And just spitballing the idea that you've taken Jerusalem, that is one type of city, and then being able to just sweep up Tyre effortlessly, that's another sack of potatoes altogether.
Oh yeah. And I mean, a lot of people did it throughout the years, so it was fairly common. And Nebuchadnezzar couldn't do it. And mainly just a logistical error. The way it looks, he just didn't surround the whole city. He allowed them to escape out the back through the sea. So yeah, I mean, it's very interesting. And the apologetic from the Christians would be Alexander the Great did it eventually, and the Bible says that, and I'm like, no, it doesn't. So I get to go through and show how the Bible doesn't say that, and how history doesn't say that either. Although Alexander the Great did take Tyre eventually.
Right.
You know, I'd like to get Richard Madsen. I've been threatening to get him on the show. I even have an alert on my phone. You know how you got the reminder? It's been there for over a week that says you're late in contacting Richard Madsen. I'd like to get him on the show one of these days to talk about Ezekiel. Just a fun show, not hardcore atheism like you guys are. We'll just maybe that topic there specifically or something. One of these days, maybe Monday. I'll see if Richard can make it Monday and we'll talk about that. That'll be fun.
Oh yeah, Richard's always fun. Always a fun conversation. Yeah.
Two things I remember about Ezekiel is that he saw the wheel and that he rolled around in the dirt a lot.
Yeah.
And who hasn't wanted to do that? Hey, thank you, Paul Camish, for the £4.99 of support to the channel. He says tea for y'all. Thank you very much, Paul. You are our hero. Much appreciated. The tea keeps the hands twitching. Tea, coffee, nicotine, caffeine. No nicotine. Nicotine bad. But thank you, Paul, for that. Appreciate it. Thank you, Gary Priestley. I'm glad you liked the little videos. That was Andy's idea. Blame him.
Yeah, blame me.
But I like them. They seem to be working. You are blamable. I mean, it works. You got a face for blame.
I do.
That's
what my mother always told me.
When she let you out of the closet.
Exactly.
I want to remind everybody that we have got the phone number up, 940-DAMN-SHOW. If you want to give us a call and visitate with us, talk to Andy, talk to Nokasuchi. Don't talk to me. I'm boring. You don't want to talk to me.
Okay, I'm not going to stop you, Chris. You seem to be doing a good job right there.
So give us a call. Visitate with us. What we're kind of one of the things we're talking about today as the main topic. I don't know if you've heard, but I'm sure you've heard that Typhoid Trump is doing everything he can to overturn the election. And I've been saying for quite a while that the conservatives will turn when he needs them to turn, and they're starting to turn. They're turning. Over half of the House Republicans yesterday backed Trump's this half-brained Texas scheme to sue other states to overturn their elections. Andy will fill us in on the minutia of the details in just a moment. I just kind of wanted to fit you in on what's going on. They really are. They really are doing it.
Yeah. Well, the craziest thing is like 12 of them are asking to overturn the votes that put them in office. Like they're congressmen from the states that they're asking to overturn the vote that just got elected into office.
Right. Clearly, they don't really care so much about the outcome of the vote.
Oh,
they don't really care so much. I'm just saying. Andy, you got a look on your face. You had a look on your face. I saw it.
Well, there was a I was trying to figure out whether or not I should talk about this obscure Russian Revolution Bolshevik reference, but I am since I had the look on my face, and it's going to be anti-intuitive once again. Even those people those politicians who are in office arguing for to overturn the votes that got them into office. Mm-hmm. I think in the long term, that's actually and hear me out. It's a smart move. Because one, they know that it's probably not going to happen to begin with, right? Two, right. They would feel like, well, if I ran again, I'd probably win again. And three, what they're trying to do is ensure their position within the hierarchy, within the party, within the system. So Lenin, when he was building the party in Russia before the revolution, he had a policy of, I don't care what you do on your own time, as long as you do what you need to do for the party, I don't care. It doesn't matter. So that means that offered people within the party to be able to do some pretty horrible things, but personally, in their personal lives. But Lenin's like, I don't care. I don't care if you're a monster in your personal life, as long as you do what you need to do. And that seems to be a good way to build a fanatical party to achieve its political goals and social goals.
It would appear to work, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, so far. I put a link. Let's see, did it let me?
I always mute myself because I cough, because I smoke the whole time we do the show. But I think without a doubt, the Republican Party has become that fanatical party. We've been saying both parties have. Yeah, both parties have always had their extremes, and for the longest time, the extreme part of that Republican Party would have been your very extreme libertarians and your white supremacists. And now it's like they allowed the white supremacists and the libertarians to come out of the shadows and be the party now. And yeah, Chris, you've been speaking about it. The Tea Party took it over, and now we're seeing the born results of that is this extremely, extremely fundamental party that's willing to just throw away everything that America is supposed to be so they can keep power.
Right. They don't care. They've completely ditched. I mean, some of the news media outlets are a little bit leaning to the left, but when Andy asked me this morning, I changed the topic. The topic today was going to be about the march, and I changed it up on him. He's like 106 traitors. What the hell? And I'm like, well, news, right? News happens. And so he said, do you have a link? I'm like, a link? I got 2 links. I got 3 links. You got CNN, CBS, NBC, MSNBC. They're all publicly calling these guys traitors in their articles.
Yeah, well, and every time I feel like I'm starting to get comfortable, like, this is all a play for money. He's going to leave peacefully. Then this happens yesterday, and all these Republicans come out and support him. Next will be the crazy Senate Republicans, so half of those will come out and support him. And no, now I'm like, no, this is getting serious again. Now I don't think it's just a play for money. He really wants to stay there.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah. And he'll, I tell you, this is one of those deals where people's lives are going to get lost. I mean, people are going to get hurt. They are now instigating violence amongst their right-wing armed up supporters. The Arizona, that one guy for the Stop the Steal come out and he made a tweet saying, I'm willing to die to stop this steal. Are you? And then the Arizona Republican Party came out, retweeted it and said, he is. Are you implying that he's willing to stop the steal, to stop Joe Biden from taking an election and give his life doing so? Are you willing to do that? And that's inciting violence against the incumbent or the incoming
They've
president.
set it up. There's no win here now. One side is going to be mad no matter what happens. So their side is going to be, they think that we stole the election when we didn't. All right. But now they're going to steal the election. And when they do that, our side is going to be like, nuh-uh.
Yeah.
But you can see how the limitations of our bad brains is playing out here, because it's very easy to get lulled into a sense of security thinking about the next 1 year or 2 years, because our brains evolved to deal with the immediate threat, or maybe not the immediate threat, but really short-term thinking, right? Just, I need to get another slab of food in my mouth and shelter over my head for the night, and then just repeat, and I'll eventually survive. And that's why we are bad at dealing with the climate crisis, for example, and long-term problems. So even though this is like a pocket of terror, right? If we're going to be thinking about this moment in time in the next 6 months, this is a pocket of terror in a greater kind of like firewall against fascism, because that's what the Biden administration is going to be, more or less.
Yeah, and Biden came out yesterday and said something really atrocious about how he's not going to use executive order basically at all, and we had that big confrontation, but I never wanted him not to use it. I want, you need to go in there and fix the stuff,
Oddly enough, here's the difference.
I can't criticize him because now we've got to be behind him now,
Yeah. But here's the difference is that Joe Biden said, I'm not going to use the executive order. And we're like, oh man, don't do that. But when the conservatives say stuff like that, that's just a lie to get them past some kind of block. And then once they're past that block, man, executive order, right? I mean,
they do it anyway. Yeah.
Hypocritical liars. But Joe Biden, once he gets in there, is he going to take that? I mean, he might once or twice possibly, but if he says beforehand he's probably not, then he's probably not going to, just to hold up to that thing, because they have, what's that thing called? Integrity. Yeah. Strange. They don't really have that on the right. It's like, I'm going to lie to you to your face, and as soon as I get what I want, I'm going to do whatever I want. And they do it over and over. And then they blame us for everything they're literally doing themselves.
I want to make an argument. And
who's trying to steal the election? The right. Who's running a Stop the Steal campaign? The right, the party of hypocrisy. Bam, right there. Sorry, Andy, carry on.
I want to make an argument against divided government, because you see a lot of our Republican Republicans argue that we should have a divided government. The president should be of one party, and Congress should be different. And in some ways, that's a false issue, at least when it comes to Republicans.
Yeah, it requires compromise, and if you don't have that, then you fail.
Right.
The way how the checks and balances work right now, and when they talk about divided government, they talk within the legislative branch, right? Mm-hmm. Because if you have divided government within the legislative branch, then the argument goes, and they have to compromise within the legislative branch. And I think that hides a larger issue, and the larger issue is executive orders, right? Congress can negate executive orders, but only if Congress works well, only if Congress isn't divided. And it seems like the main power of the presidency right now is in executive orders. So the idea about having a divided Congress, it's horrible. It's a horrible idea about having a divided legislature, because what it does, it gives the president dictatorial powers over with these executive orders. And so it was just something I've been ruminating about over the last few days. And the idea about having a divided Congress, I think it's a pill of death. I think it's a pill of death.
I agree. I think that's why we never get anything done, is because it's always divided. And you need one party to push their agenda. In order to do that, you need the party to pretty much have the majority.
Yeah.
Well, when you think about there's no compromising with these people. There's no compromise. There's that saying about, you come together and like you each take one step forward. So the left takes a step forward, the right takes a step back, and they go, hey, you're supposed to meet in the middle. And then the left takes a step forward and the right takes a step back. I mean, that's what we have. It's constant. There's no compromising with these people.
You saw it with Obama. Obama compromised for 6 years. Obama compromised for 6 years, and they just told him to shut up for 6 years. And then for 2 years, his final 2 years, he was like, "Screw compromise! I'm just going to push stuff through." And they called him a dictator. So it's you can't win with them. There's no compromise with them.
There's no compromise.
And Barack Obama is the shining example of that, because he tried so hard. He was so weak when it came to it. He would put compromise over everything, and they just pushed it back in his face.
I think once again, the idea of any president, of any Democratic president, is to work the party, is to grow the party, and to grow the party within Congress. And that is, once again, allowing DC, or getting DC to be a state, right, with those two senators, at least one representative, and getting Puerto Rico, and Puerto Ricans seem to be in favor of it with that non-binding resolution they had in November, of them getting their two senators and at least one representative. That dramatically shifts power, and that's why Republicans hate doing it. And I know that these are when I talk about things, I know that these are non-sexy and people's eyes glaze over. But my freaking God, I'm going to keep hammering this drum about the dangers in the long term of the Republic right now, because their number is legion. But there are ways of fixing it. There are ways of fixing it.
At this point, I'm not even sure. It's like, when Trump first started doing this whole steal thing, and it seemed like, he had like the crazies of the Republican Party. All right, yeah. I mean, that's 20%. We can do something about that over time. But now we're a month away from the actual change of power. And it's like 50 to 60% of the Republicans are there with him now, right? So it's like, how do you change that? I don't know.
Well, what you do is, once again, you take care of gerrymandering, right? Gerrymandering. People think, and this is also a pernicious effect that even atheists have, is the idea that people are solitary, that people make decisions on their own, but they're not. They respond to incentives in society.
I believe we're herd animals.
We are herd animals. And whatever incentives the society places, most of us will respond to. So you put in the right incentives, then you're going to get 20% of the population to be rabid animals who are like supporting President Trump regardless of rhyme or reason. And the idea is to tweak the incentives.
My dad's a perfect example of that. You know, like very big liberal, thrown out of the army when he was for being a hippie. Mm-hmm. You know, he was a hippie back in the day. 25, 30 years in North Carolina, surrounded by conservative Republicans, and now he's a conservative Republican. But he still had those seeds, and that's what kind of gives me a little bit of hope, because my dad on his own, a little pushing and prodding for me and my brothers, has come to the conclusion that Trump's an idiot. But he's very alone in that, considering the people he's surrounded by. But just that herd mentality can completely change a human being. I've seen it with my own eyes.
Yeah, definitely. And so that's why it's so important. And Republicans understand this. Oligarchs understand this. That's why we have to tweak the system so that it incentivizes good behavior, rational behavior, secular behavior. The idea that, and I was just listening to a video today, I think by Rationality Rules. I think it's one of his newer ones. And there's this canard. There's a pun there somewhere for people who know my work. There's a canard out there that there's this misbelief that as long as there are more atheists in the society at large, then that means everything's going to be okie dokie smoky, that somehow the arc of history will somehow turn in our favor regardless of what happens. And this is a horrible, horrible misconception.
Oh,
this
yeah.
Horrible misconception, thinking that eventually if we get enough atheists mucking about, then somehow we're going to be freaking Norway or Sweden. No.
Yeah, no, not at all. No. I've got an atheist in my comment section for my Darth Dawkins live stream on Wednesday. Oh, yeah, I agree with everything you guys said about Darth Dawkins, but the moment you got to Trump, you showed your ignorance there. And I'm like, yep. So your whole argument of a world full of atheists making it a better place, no, atheists can be idiots too.
Well, they respond, what atheism does is that it gives you an insurance policy against making the same mistakes that Christians or theists do. That's all it does. Yeah. Just because you're an atheist doesn't mean all of a sudden you get this skeptical toolbox. It isn't just because you wake up one day and say, oh, there isn't a God, suddenly Amazon sends you the skeptical toolkit. That isn't how it works.
I wish I know more about evolution if they did that.
Yeah, right, exactly. I do.
I kid. Evolution has nothing to do with atheism. That's what the Christians say. I shouldn't do that.
I want to chat with Phil Lister. Atheism is not a political view. I would say in the United States of America, being an atheist is a political act. And once again, I know people's eyes glaze over when I say that. But being an out of the closet atheist is a political act, especially when one of the two major political parties has already been absorbed by the evangelical right.
I'm not sure how it is across the rest of the world, but here in America, stating that you're an atheist is a political statement.
To that point, Andy, what's going on tomorrow?
Oh, it is the Jericho March. The Jericho March where
their goal, though, right?
We'll just call it with this: mobs armed with trumpets. I hope that there are trumpets, because in the fictitious Battle of Jericho, there are trumpets. And so there'll be mobs of Trump-supporting evangelical Christians marching around state capitals. And I hope they keep it old school. And I hope that they keep it like 7 times that they march around the state capitals so that the walls of voter fraud crumble.
I hope they make little fake arcs of the covenant. I really do. Like, you got to carry that thing around the city 7 times,
And you know what I really hope, Rach? I just want to bounce off that. I hope if anyone mistakenly touches the ark, that they have to kill him.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
You die immediately if you open the lid.
You just have. It was just one dude. I forget which book of the Bible it was.
Just pack Corona in the ark, and if you open it, you're
melt
done.
Their brains off. Melt their faces off with torches.
Right? I forget what book of the Bible it was in. It might have been. So they were carrying the ark, and some dude who was carrying it stumbled, and he mistakenly just touched the outside of the ark, and he just died instantly. And so that's what I'm saying. I hope if anyone mistakenly touches this faux ark, that they get stoned or something.
Yahweh's radioactive, because that's Yahweh lives there. It's his little house because he's a little dude.
It's his little house. He's got his little God house.
True enough. But those people
I have too much fun with it.
The goal that these people, their purpose is to overturn the election. It's all fun and games until somebody loses an election. And what's going on is that they're gathering in mass. And so the Christian message now has become anti-democrat, period. And now they've lost an election, and they're so up in arms in it. Let's see what kind of numbers they turn out. And we've already seen over 50% of the conservatives in the House turn their back on democracy. It happened yesterday.
Yeah, and it's a message of violence. They're showing up with their guns. This is all designed to intimidate lawmakers and legislators. It's designed to threaten civil unrest, right? So I mean, this is no peaceful. They always talk about, our side and our protest and how, they break a window. These are no peaceful protests. These are designed to incite terror and fear.
Yeah. It's I just want to Phil Lister in my chat says the system of having 2 senators for each state, whatever the population is, unrepresentative of the population, it is a very distorted democracy. Yeah, that's how, if we didn't have 2 senators for every state, we would not, and this isn't, I think most historians would agree with this, that we would not have an American republic, or it would be very different. There would just be southern states and northern states, because that was one of the compromises of the Constitutional Convention.
Yeah, that was the Great Compromise, I believe. Yeah.
Yep. Besides the 3/5 of every black person being, voting, for the House of Representatives. But the Great Compromise,
I should say that. I was just going to say maybe we could do without the Senate.
Oh yeah,
crazy talk.
Well, we can. That is possible. We can definitely do without a bicameral legislature and state houses, and that would save money and time. Nebraska.
Traditionally, the Senate has always been the place where you find reason among the madness, right? And the House was always your packed full of your extreme personalities on both sides, and then legislation would make its way to the Senate, and there you would find moderation and compromise. And that's our democracy has lost that over 20 or 30 years of severely partisan divide, to where now the Senate is just as crazy as the House. So I mean,
okay, all right. So let's play on this for a little bit. I got an idea. Peep this, my homies. So what if Trump and the corrupt conservatives choose tomorrow, whenever the Christians across the country do their shout, to announce that that's whenever they're going to not accept the results, they're going to overturn the election no matter what. And then, of course, now they've got all these Christians on board because it worked. Their shout worked. Right? What's the likelihood of that? I mean, would you be surprised? I would not be surprised.
How would the shout work? How would the wall?
Did you hear what I said? When they shout, the walls don't have to come down on anything. They're shouting. Their goal is to shout and overturn the election. So whenever they shout, the conservatives come out in mass and say they're not accepting the election. Donald Trump is going to remain president at that time. Therefore, the Christians go, "Oh my God, it worked! God has answered our shout." You see where I'm going with that? Am I the only one seeing the relationship there?
It
wouldn't surprise me.
There's a very low chance of that happening. Once again, I think in terms of what will probably happen, if I was going to put on my predictive hat, which I would say I'm not that bad at, it would be this is all just teeing up for the next election cycle or the next election cycle after that. If you have a group of citizens motivated, energized, an institution of violence, an institution of stupidity, an institution of unreasoning, motivated people who are willing to give you their time and their money, and if that's 20% of the population, that's enough for a good old-fashioned coup at some point, not in the far future. That's what it is. How many people do you need to be able to overthrow a government or to undermine a government? 20% is more than enough. 20% is more than enough.
Right. I want to throw some numbers and some ideas at you. All right. So I made the suggestion that Trump would suggest locking up his political opponents. Oh, that's crazy. He won't do that. I also made the suggestion that the conservatives would turn en masse with him whenever he decided to flaunt his nose at the election results. Yesterday, 60% of the conservatives in the House turned with Trump and want to try to overturn the election openly. Yeah. Right?
Yep.
So what are the odds then, whenever it comes back to what I was saying? That why won't they do it?
That they will try to do
tomorrow would be a great time to do it, because by doing it tomorrow, at that time, the conservatives get all of Christendom behind them. That's what I'm saying.
You will say one thing. Well, I've used the analogy about a snake eating a rabbit, right? It takes a while for a snake to digest a rabbit once it's eaten it. It takes a long time to digest institutions. So Donald J. Trump has tried to. And he is going by the playbook. He's putting his people in high positions, but yet 4 years is not enough. And when you look at other dictators, when you look at other proto-fascists in other countries, it isn't the first term that solidifies the power. It is the second term. This isn't just me saying it. This is, once again, I think, a consensus amongst political pundits. When you talk about Erdogan, let's say, or Putin, it's the second term that they really get to solidify their power and institutionalize their power. Mm-hmm. So we're lucky, in a sense, that coronavirus came along once again, because Joe Biden would not have won the election if it wasn't for coronavirus. Right. It's as simple as that. And so we have been able to dodge a bullet.
I think you'll definitely see some placating tomorrow. I definitely think that. But unless there's more Republican senators willing, congressmen, they're known to be kooky. So 60% of Republicans,
Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham, Ted Cruz.
I'm talking about the House. The House is generally
you were saying. I know the House is generally crazy, but I'm talking about the Senate.
And that's what I'm saying, though. Okay. But none of the senators have so far latched on to this lawsuit. And Mitch McConnell himself has indicated, and several of the senators have indicated behind the scenes. Now that's not public. I would be a lot more worried if there were actual senators. If even Lindsey Graham were to come out in support of the lawsuit. Yeah, we'll see.
They will when there's enough. It's not necessarily a lawsuit. It doesn't even have to be the lawsuit. It's essentially that the Republicans are coming out and saying, at any opportunity we get, we're not going to accept this election. Whatever, doesn't matter, right? This lawsuit's been thrown out by the Supreme Court, and yet yesterday 106 of them came out in support of it. What does that tell you? It doesn't matter whether the law is good or not. They're out against election. All they're looking for is a reason. Right.
Well, my point is, it's the House, though. The House it's the House.
I get that, and then I say crazy things like Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz and Mitch McConnell. All of those people will lie and turn on a dime. Did Lindsey Graham is a perfect example, right? And yet, what percentage? Now, we wake up tomorrow, and then all of a sudden we find out 60% of the Senate Republicans are also on board. Then what happens? But that's crazy. That won't happen because 60% of the Republicans. You're in real trouble. Well, but that won't happen because it's crazy talk. It's crazy talk. Chris is crazy. It's crazy talk because it's like 60% of the House conservatives coming out. That's crazy that they wouldn't do that.
No, I don't think that it's crazy to think that they would do that, especially this Senate. This Senate has shown themselves to be quite willing to break all tradition and norm. So
you're right. They're not. They haven't came out for it yet because it does whatever it is because it doesn't have the support. But now I think they're realizing whatever that red flag is that they're going to throw up to try to take over the election, they have the support to do it. I think that's what the Graham, McConnell, that's what they're realizing. And I think that's what we're going to see over the next couple of weeks. Yeah. We'll see how it goes. I'm crazy.
It's going to be interesting to watch. I think a good indicator is if they don't get a stimulus deal done before their Christmas break, I think that's going to indicate that the Republican Party has a pretty good notion that they're going to keep power and they just don't care. But that's my opinion.
Phil Lister asks, does the Electoral College physically meet? They don't meet on a federal level. The ballots are tallied within each state, and then they're sent. Then they're certified by each state, and then that certified number goes to the Congress for certification. So there are different stages. But does the Electoral College go to Washington, D.C., for an example, go in and make a vote? No, they do not. I hope that answers.
I hope that helps. Yeah.
And Gary Priestley mentions in the chat too that the quote unquote silent majority is being weaponized for the Biden presidency. And I think that's the takeaway, isn't it? Right? Is that they have this 20% of the population energized for the Biden administration to go out there and picket and to fight as much as humanly possible. And then there was another question about why aren't we out there? Why aren't the left out there? And the reason why the left aren't out there is it gets a little bit more complicated. But the Democratic Party does not want people out on the streets because the Democratic Party is made up of moderate Democrats. And if they get real Democrats out there on the street, then guess what? Those are progressives. And they are going to want to get rid of those people in power in the DNC. So what the DNC is doing, and I just want to point this out once again, the Democrats, the DNC has decided they're going to fight this kind of grinding war of attrition that they are set to lose because they're not energizing their base properly enough. And the thing is that the Republicans have foot soldiers. They also have the oligarchical money. And so the Democrats are basically saying, the DNC is basically saying, we can win this war of attrition against the right by not using all the tools in our toolbox because that would jeopardize our own power, the moderates for the Democratic Party.
And I also think a good chunk of it is the left activists were tired. We've been in the streets since July, so I think that they're hitting it at the right time because a lot of the activists from the left went home and are recuperating and are planning stage 2 of the fight against the police. And MAGA is now kind of taking advantage of that void here.
We had a caller, but they dropped off. Sorry, guys.
What's that, sir?
We had a caller, but they dropped off.
They dropped off.
So Dell from Illinois, if you want to call back and we'll take your calls. Just, you know how it is. Okay. So,
the nature, the reason why MAGA people are out in the streets is because they have institutions to keep churning them out and to keep energizing them. It is a failure of the left, of the DNC to create that same kind.
The DNC abandons their activists. The right props their activists up.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing, right? So once again, the Republicans, they prop their activists up, but this is what happens is that they got eaten by their activists.
Oh, right? Yeah, without a doubt.
The Republicans got eaten, and the DNC sees that, and they are terrified. I mean, the moderate Democrats are terrified at the idea of Bernie Sanders running the show or devouring up the Democratic Party, because then you get Norway, basically. You don't get some kind of weird hybrid system.
And they see that writing on the wall. I mean, the changes are coming to the Democratic Party, and they're just trying to stave it off as long as they can.
The thing is, they cannot survive the way it is now. They will either be devoured, they will either be crushed by the Republicans over time, which is far more likely, or they'll be devoured by the progressives. It's probably going to be more of the former than the latter.
Yeah. More. All the indicators are there. More. I mean, a vast majority of Republicans, conservative-leaning people, agree with progressive policy. It's just the moment you attach a name to it, like AOC. Oh, nope, I hate that.
Right. Well, that's the power of branding, isn't it? I mean, they know how to brand other people.
Yep.
So that even people still think that Hillary Clinton has rape tunnels underneath her house. That's the power of branding.
We have another caller, guys. Amber Schofield. Do you guys know Amber? I don't know if you know Amber. That's Mrs. Ed. Let me get her on. Take a moment, guys. Continue on while I get her plugged into the show.
Okay, sure.
Whenever y'all are ready.
Yeah. I mean, you can plug her in, whatever. So what were we talking about?
Okay.
Follow the Republic, blah, blah, blah.
Let's see. Here she is, I think. Let's see if she can hear. Okay. Oh, it's Grumpy Old Dude. All right. It is actually the
I
Grumpy.
was going to say, who you calling Amber?
The thing says hell? Amber.
Nice to see you.
The resemblance.
Nice to hear.
And that's when he hit me, Your Honor. Ed.
I mean, I know she's beautiful, but damn.
So you're contractually you have to say that, right? I mean, otherwise it's your head on a platter.
Yeah. What happened to Ed? I don't know. Well, we do know. Good morning, Ed. How are you doing? Thank you for calling this morning. What's going on?
So, I don't want to sound, like I'm out, really far out there, but does anybody on the panel actually think that, people are going to start firing off shots if Trump doesn't overturn this election?
If he doesn't overturn the election.
I think that's I think it's probably 80% chance no shots ever fired now. I don't think that I would hope that that's not even really Trump's goal. Sometimes it seems like that. I think his main goal is to raise funds and to do what was just spoken of, to kind of activate their base to get through the next 2 years of a Joe Biden presidency, sabotage it, and win back numbers in 2 years for the midterms. So that's what I'm hoping. Now, people are crazy, and there's a lot of guns in this country. So I'm definitely giving it a 30 to 40% chance that somebody will shoot a shot. And once a shot's fired, who knows what'll happen.
People stumble into violence.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're a nation state or if you're just a group of dudes hanging out doing a march. People stumble into violence a lot of times, especially when they're counter protesters or they get kind of like jacked up on Coors Light or something.
I think it's possible the left starts it. I mean, right now it could be either side starting it.
Can I add to what Grumpy is saying? Maybe perhaps not so much some rando in the street doing it, but maybe more like what was going to happen with the Wolverine Watchmen, where some governor's mansion gets stormed or something. That kind of violence, not simple 1-0 rando Kyle Rittenhouse kind of violence. We're talking about actual.
I definitely think that. I think that's a possibility because we've seen that play out. They got caught. They got caught trying to kidnap the governor, but they were going to kidnap the governor of Michigan.
I want to talk about the real danger. The salient point there, to Ed's point, is that there is a trend line. Now, all four of us. I think Rage is the youngin here, but most of us are old enough to remember that stuff like this did not happen. It just did not happen.
I love it that everybody thinks I'm so young. I'm like 43 years old.
Well,
okay.
So
there you go. So you remember.
That's my baby face, man. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you. A baby face. But there is a trend line of escalating violence that concerns me. That's what it does. And I think the system is cooked so that it supports that kind of violence, an escalation of violence. That's what I'm afraid of, to tell you the truth.
Well, and my thing is, everybody got so focused on the Proud Boys that they forgot about some of these other bigger groups that are all about violence.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and not just on the right, Ed. I know several far lefties, revolutionaries. I mean, they will tell you they're revolutionaries. They're hoping something happens. They want something to happen. So that's why I say, like, I can see it coming from the left as well, because the moment that we ignore that we have our radical lefties is the moment that they'll do something, right? So I think it's more likely on the right because they're more organized. They have more of these groups, and to Ed's point,
lefties, do you mean Antifa?
Are more than willing to be violent. More than willing. Proud Boys will fight you in the streets. A lot of these groups will kill you. So to Ed's point, I think we can't ignore those other groups, and they are kind of getting pushed back into the shadows again because everybody's focused on the Proud Boys.
I think the real danger is tit for tat violence. If we get to a point in the country that there is this kind of tribalistic tit for tat violence, someone shoots someone from one side, the other people, shoot someone from the other side, that would be a sign of entering the maelstrom, so to speak, because that's what happens in Northern Ireland. That would be what happened, like something like Rwanda, for an example. That's dangerous, and I think that we're teeing up for that, following the trend lines of chaos.
And we've definitely seen with the Black Lives Matters protest, there's definitely violence within those protests. I'm not trying to say that, but we have seen outside agitators take advantage of the situation, and I would not be surprised to see them to do the same now. That there's this climate of half the country thinking that the election was stolen from them. There are very organized groups out there that could agitate this situation and try to escalate it into something that it shouldn't go to.
True.
I don't think it'll happen again. I think it's 80%. 80%. We'll get through this. No shots fired. What happens in 4 years? It might be a different story.
You think?
Well,
we'll see.
Hopefully it doesn't come to that. Everything stays peaceful, and we kind of get our heads out of our asses and start getting things back in order. But
let's ask Ed a question. Let's ask Ed a question. All right, so Ed asked us the question: if the things continue and Biden is elected, will there be violence from essentially the right? So what happens then? Let's ask Ed. Ed, do you think if Trump and the conservatives on the right manage to somehow overturn the election, do you then think we will have violence from the left, or just people from the left to go back and overthrow the coup that's being overthrown? You know what I mean? Do you think we'll have that kind of thing, or do you think the American people will just whimper and go, okay, another 4 years of President Trump, he'll respect that term limit just like he respected this election? You think that'll happen?
No. I think if Trump overturns this election, this country is going to explode.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that they ain't seen nothing yet. if they overturn this election, the left is going to explode. Yeah,
and the right thinks we ain't got no guns. Oddly.
Yeah, so I think that's the most dangerous scenario we're in right now. Is if Trump succeeds, I think that's our most likely path toward violence. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. If he succeeds in pulling this madness off, things are going to go in a vastly violent direction.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, I've made some certain calls if there is violence. Go ahead, Andy.
If there is violence, it'll be at an institutional level. So I don't see the left being able to marshal the same kind of strength.
Nope.
Oh yeah.
You're going to have a one-off lefty
those
guy.
revolutionaries I talked about, they're few and far between.
But you have those on the right. Go ahead.
Yeah, they're everywhere on the right.
I disagree with Andy. I disagree with Andy for one reason. Okay. The county that I live in Elk County, Pennsylvania. There are more active duty and former Marines in this county per capita than any other county in the entire nation. And I can tell you right now, a lot of those people voted for Biden. And if Trump tries to pull something off, they have already said, listen, we took an oath to defend this country, and we will uphold that oath. So don't think for a second that people on the left cannot organize.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. There is, and I'm sorry to cut you off, Andy. I'll let you go. But there is data coming out now that does give me hope that Trump isn't going to be able to use military. The military overwhelmingly sees him as a traitor. Yeah. From the data.
Well, that's the thing too. Due to Trump's own incompetence, and why I say it'll be at an institutional level, it would be because Trump hasn't yet devoured the military and the military institutions. And so if there would be violence, it would be on a military level. Now, let's say in 4 years, in 8 years, in 12 years, would there be this kind of low-grade civil war situation going on? Yeah. I could definitely see that. But I think at this point in the game, it would be more on an institutional level. That's just my opinion.
True enough. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and
I'm going to let you get back to your show.
Yeah, okay. Thank you,
God. Get back to your show so I can listen to this on the computer.
Always good to listen to God. That's right. Thanks, man.
Thank you, Ed, for calling. We very much appreciate it. Have a wonderful weekend. You and Miss Amber, stay safe. Stay cootie free.
You too, buddy. We'll see you soon.
Yes, sir.
Take care.
All right, guys. Andy, what do you got going on for the week? What do you got going on the weekend?
I always got something cooking. I'm going to be dropping some more short videos. I was on the Harmonic Atheist YouTube channel. I have an excerpt of that clip I'm going to be dropping today. I got Dale McGowan, like I said. On next Thursday, we're going to be talking about Christmas music. Dale's a philanthropist, skeptic, humanist guy. And I have, of course, Dragons and Genesis a week from this Friday, a week from today. Hey, we're going to be talking all kinds of Bible stuff. Otherwise, it's going to be nothing but chaos, fun, and madness. And I'm sure I'll be talking about the March on Jericho or the Jericho March over the weekend. March.
If things get crazy, we may stream it. Yeah.
A big bag of nuts there, my friends. That's
Absolutely.
what it is.
Nokasuchi, what do you got? People don't run off. I'm going to run the Wild Bill commercial if you haven't seen it. So hang out for that. Nokasuchi, what do you got going on the weekend, man?
Noon today, I've got a really good panel coming on to continue reviewing Matt Powell's movie. I've got Junk Shop, I believe, is coming back on. Oh, wait, no, I'm reading the wrong list. I can't find my list. Well, I've got a great panel. I've got Dave, Critical Cripple, Math Pig's going to be there. The Lone Wanderer is going to be there. There's one other person. I'm forgetting them right now, and I'm so sorry. Speed of Sound of Gravity is going to be there, and we're going to be reviewing Matt Powell's movie at noon. Tomorrow, I'm taking a day off of streaming unless something crazy happens with the Jericho March, and then Sunday, I have my debate against CJ Cox on whether or not the prophecy of Tyr was fulfilled. So 2 p.m. Eastern there. That's what's going on for me.
Awesome. Cool. All right, guys. Well, I'll see y'all later. I'm going to have a good weekend. I'm going to work on my Chris Mallard Show channel. If you're not following the Chris Mallard Show, pop over there. That channel has been blowing up compared to how fast the Daily Atheist Morning Show channel blew up. So pop over there. If you like liberal, left-wing political nutbaggery, just pop over there and like my stuff. Otherwise, you all have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for joining us. All you amazing people in the damn nation. Thank you. YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Twitter. Have a safe, wonderful weekend. I'm going to run the Wild Bill commercial. See y'all later. See you Monday. Hello, and welcome to Shakespeare with a Redneck. What the? I am Wild Bill Wigglestick, and I'll be your handsome host, your gilded guide, your cowboy concierge of Shakespeare. Dude, really? Today on Shakespeare with a Redneck, I'm going to perform the prologue from Romeo and Juliet. Damn it, Bill. Two households, both alike in dignity in fair Verona, where we lay our scene. From ancient grudge break to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. From forth the fatal loins of these two foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life, whose misadventured piteous overthrows doth with their death bury their parents' strife. The fearful passage of their death-marked love and the continuance of their parents' rage, which but their children's end not could remove, is now the 2 hours traffic of our stage, the which if you with patient ears attend, what here shall miss, our toil shall strive to mend. Hey, that wasn't half bad. I'm not as dumb as I look. Of course not. You'd be in a coma. Okay, so here's a quick rundown of the situation. Bill, 2 snot-nosed brats ignore the warnings of their learned parents and end up getting 4 people killed. Bill, come on, man. You're always blah, blah, atheist stuff, blah, blah, boring. Say something fun, for goodness sake. What? Particle is a fun word. Bill, particle. Bill, or talk about horses and dogs. People love horses and dogs. Or boobies. Everybody loves boobies. Bill. Oh, can I say boobies on YouTube? If you close your eyes, it doesn't count. Talk about boobies then. Okay? Everybody loves those cute little blue-footed bastards. It hurts right here. Culture, baby, coming at you. Avoid bringing a plague on both your houses. A plague on both your houses! By hitting that subscribe button, then that little notification bell. And bang that thumbs up button like frisky cousins at a family reunion. Thank you and take care. Peace. Thank you for watching the show. A special shout out to my gold level Patreon supporters, Cindy Plaza and Ian Davenport. Thank you and have a great day.